Hi, Misha here, and let's do another video on a Swiss gun. First SiG, then SAN, now as of last year, SiG again, and imported by JDI out of Frisco, Texas. Late last year, the SG552s finally came in. The 552 was built from around from 1998 up to about 2008, give or take. It was the first kind of short Commando version. Had a 8.9-inch barrel, and it was replaced by the improved SG553. Same barrel length, with the differences being internal, the operating system, an improvement. But a few SG552 parts kits were found in the basement of SiG and were built as a special contract for JDI, with 53 coming into the country. So these will probably be the very last 552s ever to be built, assembled, what have you, from the factory. And with that, we haven't fired this one yet, so let's run a mag through the 552 and then swap on this upper conversion kit and shoot it as a 553 SG552. She held up. Now let's pull this off and put on the 553 upper. I'm gonna get the pin out. So as you saw there, the 552 versus 553, one of the improvements was the recoil system and how it can come flying out. And trust me, even when you think you remember, because of how these guns, all the others, come apart the same, and it's the different, you can do it without even thinking. To do it correctly, you really need both hands, because you gotta essentially catch it with your finger and then ease it out. And then when you do that, it comes right out. And this is still locked in. You have to pull this handle out to go ahead and take your bolt grip out. And it's again a little different here. It comes out with the piston attached like you would see on an AK. Unlike on an AK though, this is essentially fixed. It has a little play to the piston. It's a little tighter, as you would expect from Swiss engineering. Alright, we'll move on with the 553 upper. I better have it on the suppressor. Yep, I did it again. I had this set on the suppressor setting. This one has the 4-way regulator instead of the standard 2 as on this one. And for some reason, I always get it flipped over to suppressor, not realizing it. And then it actually will cycle with hotter ammo, like brass case. But if you're shooting 55 grain steel case, not so much. So, whoops. Okay, let's shoot the 553 and then come back and talk about kind of how they shot. Now with the 553. And now to take the 553 upper off and put the 552 back on. And notice nothing comes flying out. You can even charge it back. So that's definitely one of the improvements. The upper is the firearm. So you can get these conversion kits, but it is a registered component. So you will have to have to go through an FFL. A couple of these came in 553s. Kind of interesting because they're the -1, so the 1 in 10 twist. And this one is 14 millimeter. I've talked about it in the past, but it's a neat upper. And of course, we have the 552. Now, we didn't run many rounds through either today. Part is because I don't want to really put a lot of wear and tear on the 552, because good luck ever getting a replacement component. And also because ammunition is still a buck around, even for the cheap stuff like Wolf. But I thought it would be interesting. So what do I think? Well, the 552 here actually does have a little bit different of a recoil impulse than the 553. The 553, like the 550, 551, has the recoil assembly around the piston up here, meaning it kind of comes back and pushes. The 552, as you saw, it's all in the back, and it's a different type of spring, so it's just pushing back on the spring and then being pushed back forward, whereas this is kind of being pulled forward. It actually does give it a slightly different recoil impulse. I would say with the limited exposure today, the 552 has a slightly nicer recoil. It doesn't seesaw, teeter-totter as much, and just feels a little smoother. But that small advantage over the later 553 is not worth the cost. The 553 has the same reliability and durability as the other members of the family, whereas the 552 was not a perfect design. I showed you how if you just open it up, the spring and rod will go flying out. And depending on when and where you're at, that can be a problem, because they can get some good distance on it depending on your angle. As I mentioned in another video, the rod on this is the polymer one. Originally they used metal. The problem with the metal rod, it had a propensity for bending or bowing. Polymer might flex, but it usually returns to its original shape, or at the very least will just break. That might sound bad, but you'd rather have a broken rod that you can easily identify over a bent rod that may not be so apparent. On top of that, I think you can understand why this small handle, why not horrible, isn't as ideal as this larger coated handle. And finally, because of the piston being fixed to the carrier and just the way things are, there's kind of a couple of thin spots in the carrier assembly that were known for cracking, especially in automatic fire. So these did have kind of a higher wear bolt carrier, and because of the nature, it was just more difficult to replace things. Other than those, everything else was essentially the same. Steel lower, standard barrel with the cut down 550 handguards. I put a standard diopter front sight on this, and they clamp on here. While a lot of the 552s you see had just diopters, later production ones from the 21st century did actually have this pick rail. And of course, while many are in the gray, some did have black metal, and many, because they were made for police, also had black furniture. This one has the updated Rotex 5 birdcage flash router, but originally they used a 3-prong like this, or even the earlier style. In military service, these were known as the SGGW-04, and these are known today as the SGGW-07. In 04s that were updated to 07s are known as the SGGW-0407. And SiG San SiG has offered conversion kits to update to this. You do have to change out your gas tube, but otherwise it's relatively straightforward. The SG553 is superior to the SG552, no doubt, and absolutely understandable why when the 3 came online, SiG pulled the 2 out of production. This is a truly mature design here that serves militaries and police well. The 552, there's still several going strong around the world today. Just because it has some wear points and some issues doesn't mean they were so bad that they were recalled. Mostly just to do with wear parts. The only other semi-auto 552s in America that I'm aware of that are true, genuine 552s, not parts kits, builds, or conversion of other guns, are the small batch of police LE trade-ins that Midwest had about 10 years ago. They were SBRs, so they were rifles. And what they did to make them legal, they had a stock on them, they put on a fake suppressor to bring the barrel from just under 9 inches to just over 16 inches. So 7 inches, quite a large deal. 553s were not available here until M+M, Colorado Gun Sales, started bringing them in around, if memory serves, that was about 2013. Might have been 2012. Time goes by so quickly. And those are the first 553s we ever had, and really the first new production Swiss 55X guns we had had since the 1990s. Very interesting history. These are very fun guns. We cover them very frequently. But I was kind of curious how the 552 shot, how it felt. And today seemed as good a time as any, since we had really pleasant weather. For practical purposes, for shooting, the 553 is the way to go. JDI offers these in several configurations, 1 in 7 twist, 1 in 10. They have the short barrel, the 8.9 here. They have the long barrel in both an 11.9 with a removable flash hider and a 13.6 with a fixed flash hider. And you can still, at least in theory, order them with the opters, although rail is the common. And you can get them with either gray and black, gray and green, or black on black, and alloy or steel lower. Lots of options with the 553s, because they're essentially purpose-built, custom-built by an order sheet. This is today's SIG's kind of bread and butter gun that they're making new. The 552s, on the other hand, only came in 2 configurations. This one here, steel lower, gray-green, is a pistol with the rail upper. You had the 8.9-inch version here with removable, at least in theory. These things are very tight. Rotex flash hider. And there's also an 11.9-inch version that still had the removable Rotex flash hider, but was the LB configuration with the grenade hump and ability to have a bayonet lug installed here. I mean, you could put a lug on either of these. It just wouldn't do you a lot of good because the barrel's not long enough. On the other hand, having this loop here does help installing a quad rail handguard if that's the way you want to go. I have this one set up pretty simply. This one has the tri-rail set up with the flip-up diopter for backup. This one has the traditional fixed front diopter with flip-up night sight with the clamp-on rear. And this one still has the backup popsicle iron sight here, if you ever might need it. These are actually surprisingly useful, more than you would think. I think the 552s are still a little better known than the 553s, not because they are better guns, but because 552 tends to appear in more video games. But externally, the only difference is the charging handle and, of course, the markings on the side. Otherwise, it's an internal thing. Well, yeah, we just wanted to get to the range, and it's always fun to bring some Swiss guns. If you have any questions or comments, please do post them. And as always, if you could, like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to help support the channel, please check out the link to our Patreon page. And if you'd like to talk more, hear more, go over more about Swiss guns, we have an entire playlist. This is Misha, and also on behalf of Jay, we will both catch you very soon next time.